We'll call the meeting to order. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Okay, we have a couple new members. Felicity and Patricia are both here. Maybe we could take a second and you could each introduce yourself, and then we'll go around quick and introduce who we are. Patricia, maybe if you want to start.
Great, thank you for this opportunity. I'm really excited to be part of this committee. So my name is Patricia Osoko, and just by way of background, to let you know, I'm a lawyer by training, and I work for a business law firm called Simplex Legal. It's a remote by design, which allows me to live and work from Stratford. My areas of expertise are corporate law and specifically governance. And my clients include large banks, accountant firms, and the like across Canada. Before working for Simplex, I've been there for about a year. I spent about 10 years with ATCO, which is an energy conglomerate company based in Calgary, Alberta. And I worked there as well as in Mexico. And besides my work in the legal area, at ATCO, I was involved in strategic initiatives that included digital transformations and also the all-important energy transition that's going on in all the industries throughout the world right now. So my involvement, the reason I wanted to be involved in this committee is I'm really quite passionate about the energy transition that's going on, and specifically its impact on environment. And so that's why I wanted to be involved, and I'm looking forward to working with all of you.
That's great. Welcome, Patricia.
Thank you.
Okay, Felicity.
So my name is Felicity Suclip, and I've kind of always been interested in environmental issues. I've lived in Stratford for 21 years now, and I've been in the Horticultural Society that whole time. And I am a member of Cycle Stratford, and I belong to Relief, which is a new project for planting trees and native shrubs. And I just, in the last little while, joined the Perth County Sustainability Hub. I'm just trying to get more knowledge about the environmental situation in Stratford, because I'm not as savvy about it as I'd like to be, but I'm really interested in it, and I'm hoping that I can help the committee.
Okay, thanks, Felicity. Okay, I'll just shout out in the order of everyone on my screen. So Craig, you're first up.
Okay, my name's Craig Merkley. Welcome to the two of you. Vonnie tells me I'm the longest member on this committee now, which I'm not sure what to think about that. I thought Mike might have been, but I guess it's me. I'm representing a local citizens group called AREA, which stands for Avon River Environmental Association. And those folks are keenly interested in water quality and the health of the Avon River and Lake Victoria specifically. So I'm their conduit. My day job is working with the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority. I do a number of things with them, but it's mainly actually working with farmers for the most part. But part of my job with that has been to kind of help steer some of the rehabilitation of the banks downtown around the river. And that's been an ongoing thing for quite a few years, and it's been supported by this committee, which has been great. And looking forward to carrying on this year. So I'll stop there.
Okay, Vonnie.
Hi, Patricia and Felicity, welcome. My name is Vonnie Sano. I represent the Stratford Civic Beautification and Environmental Awareness Committee. And also my day job, I work with the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority as well. My title is Community Education Supervisor, but I do more of community partnerships. We started planting trees in Stratford in 1990, community forest, right at the corner of Avon and Lorne Avenue. And I think over the years, I can't remember the last number, we're in the 20,000, 20 to 30,000 number of trees we put into Stratford in all those years. So
I didn't pour
we
yours
keep-
yet.
What's that? What was that, Mike?
Sorry. What view?
Oh, okay. So yeah, so I'm mostly doing community partnerships, and with Civic Beautification and Environmental Awareness Committee, we've done the Earth Day event every year involving schools, doing tree planting, doing environmental activities with them. We haven't in the last couple of years because of the pandemic, so we've been doing a lot of virtual stuff with the schools. So I'm the connection with the schools for all the projects.
Okay, Sammy?
Hi, everybody. Welcome to 2022 and welcome Patricia and Felicity. Nice to virtually meet you. I'm Sammy Orr. I'm a grade 11 student at Stratford District Secondary School, which you might know as the Old Northwestern. And I first kind of started getting involved environmentally in grade 7-8. And that's when grade 8, I joined as the youth representative on this committee. I've also been part of Climate Momentum, a local environmental group, and also part of my school's eco club. And I'm just really concerned about the future of our planet and how we're treating it. So I'm trying to get involved and make change.
Okay, Anita?
Hi there. So happy New Year to everyone and welcome to Patricia and Felicity. My name's Anita Jacobson. I'm the head gardener at the Stratford Festival. Personally, I'm also a member of the Stratford Field Naturalists, and I have a background in zoology and ornithology, so I'm very interested in ecology and the natural environment, and very concerned about trying to restore habitat and protect habitat, natural habitat in Perth County and in Stratford. So those are my main areas of interest.
Thanks. Emily?
Welcome, Patricia and Felicity. It's really great to meet you, and very impressive backgrounds. I think you guys are going to be a great addition to our group. So really looking forward to this year. My name is Emily Skelding. I was born and raised on a 5th going on 6th generation farm about 20 minutes out of town. And I've been living with my husband in Stratford for about 5 years. I work in the waste management field. Specifically, my title is Quality Control Manager in our Resource Recovery Division, looking at mostly our composting and organics operations. I joined this group because I'm very passionate about our local community, as well as the environment. And I have a 2-year-old little girl that I'm also looking to shape a bright future for. So welcome and look forward to 2022.
Thanks. Okay, Mike Jorna.
Hi, and welcome to the new members. Happy New Year to everybody. My name is Mike Jorna. I've been associated with energy and environment since 1976. When I was first appointed by council, I ran and got onto council 2 years later and spent 22 years, during which time the press started calling me Stratford's environmentalist. I'm in the twilight of my environmental career now. I was an educator. I am a physicist by training. And as an educator, I really felt strongly about the future of the planet. My students learned about climate change and upcoming problems way back in the 80s and 90s. And they still come back to me and tell me that I must have had some sort of a crystal ball, that it was just simple science, really. And I wish the rest of the world would adopt some of that simple science. That seems to be one of the major holdbacks on bringing about the changes that we on this committee all wish for. I think that The one thing that I like to think that I can contribute now is the perspective of the years of where Stratford City Council has been on this, and also for whatever is left, whatever wisdom I can provide. Nice meeting you all.
Okay, Jody? Oh, you're still on mute.
I double clicked that. Oops. Hi to everybody. Happy New Year and welcome to our new members. It's great. This is exciting. I'm a council member and long before that, concerned about the environment and also active transportation. So those are a couple of the things that I ran on for my platform to become a city councillor. And yeah, I'm enjoying being part of this group, and I'm happy, especially in the last couple of years. We've really done a lot. We've made a lot of effort and done a lot to influence the direction that we're going with the environment in Stratford. So it's exciting to see, but of course there's lots of work to do, and looks like we have a great team here to do it. So onward and upward.
Okay, Bonnie?
Hi, welcome to Patricia and Felissa. Did I say, hopefully I said that right. And Happy New Year, everybody. It's exciting that we're getting together again in January. I became an environmentalist when my children were in school, and they came home and said, we're supposed to recycle our pop cans. So I didn't know anything about the environment. And then when the city started the garbage tag that we had to pay for it, I think it was $1 back then. And I was like, well, I wonder what I can do to reduce my garbage. So that kind of forced me to be an environmentalist, because then I started looking at packaging and different things. And then my union, I was a delegate, so I was put on the CAW Environment Committee. So then I met with people that were saving the forests, saving the wetlands, the Sydney tar ponds, the BC. I met people like May Burrows and different ones around the world. And when they came to me and asked me what I was doing, I was like, I'm recycling. But I learned a lot from them. And I went on to join a group called Groundswell. And we were educating people about pesticide use, how not to use it. And we had several committees with that. And we ended up passing a gold standard bylaw here in Stratford because of that committee. And very proud of that. And then I decided to run. Oh, and I got on energy and environment. I honestly don't remember the year, but I've been on council since 2006, and I've been a rep on energy and environment ever since, because I'm very passionate about making my city environmentally friendly, affordable, and accessible. So anyway, and I'm also on civic beautification, environmental awareness, and I coordinate the Upper Thames cleanup in Southwestern Ontario, along with Todd Sleeper. So we haven't had it the last 2 years, and I'm guessing we might not this year either, but we'll have to wait and see. So people in town, instead, what we've done the last 2 years is just ask people to clean up around their properties. Take 20 minutes to clean up. That's enough. Welcome.
Okay, Mike Sullivan.
Hi, Felicity and Patricia and everybody else. Welcome. Happy New Year. And I am here because I'm terrified about the environment, terrified about climate change, want to make sure that my grandchildren don't have to inherit the mess we've left behind. And in any small way that I can help with that, I'm on this committee. My previous life, I was a union rep. And after doing that, I was a member of Parliament in Toronto. And after I got fired from that job, I went back to school and got a master's in environmental studies. And then I moved to Stratford. So we've been here 2 years, almost, and love the place. Think it's a perfect spot to create an environmentally healthy city. And I'm going to do whatever I can to help our councillors on this committee and on the whole of the Stratford Council, and all of the things and people that affected by the environment and are affecting the environment, and try to make it better. And this committee is a great way to do that. And thank you for joining.
Okay, and Jeff has joined us now. Jeff, we're just introducing ourselves to Felicity and Patricia, the new members.
Well, hi there. I'm Jeff Crowder. I've been, this is my second term now on E&E, and I've moved to Stratford from Guelph in 2018. I was previously also in the on the accessibility committee for 2 years. I have cerebral palsy, and that sort of frames my sort of activism and community work. But I've also, been active in a number of other sort of environment adjacent movements, like the fair trade community, the water rights, and but keeping the hydro public was a big battle out in Guelph. And I was also a candidate in the federal election for the NDP in 2019. And I have a bunch of board experience. But like Mike alluded to, it's just we're at such a critical point in terms of what we have to do to avoid the cataclysmic effects of climate change, and a lot of it is it can be daunting and intimidating to think that a lot of it is out of our control. But there's so much that we can do at the community level, and it's just empowering to be with a good group of people like such as are on this committee, and I'm looking forward to another 2 years of really driving the agenda.
That's great. Thanks, Jeff. Okay, I think that's everybody. So we'll move on to item 4, the election of the 2022 chair and vice chair. We'll start with nominations for the chair. Are there any nominations? Jody?
Thank you. I haven't talked to her ahead of time, but I was thinking I could nominate Emily Skelding if she was willing. She's well-spoken, and I think would do a great job as chair.
Okay. Are there any other nominations?
You can nominate yourself too if you're interested.
Okay. Seeing no more, I'm gonna ask for a motion. Oh, go ahead, Jeff.
Sorry, I was going to nominate Mike Sullivan.
He's saying no.
Oh, he's vigorously nodding his head, so I'll shaking his head, so I'll withdraw that nomination.
I'll ask you that part after, Mike.
Are you able
Any other nominations?
Sorry, Casey, are you able to decline a nomination if you?
Yep, I'll ask you later, like once we close the nominations, then we'll ask if you want to let your name stand.
Okay.
Are there any further nominations?
I also haven't talked to this person prior, so I hate to put them on the spot, but Mike Jorna, I think you would be an excellent candidate with all of your previous involvement on the committee if you have the time.
Well, I thank you for that. It's a bit of an honor, but I have spent, history will show that I have spent over 20 years as chair of this committee. And I really would prefer to just sit back and watch somebody else do it. But thank you.
Sammy?
I just have a question. Can counselors be chairs of committees, or is that not?
They always have been in the past. It's preferable sometimes if they're not, but they totally can be. There are counselors who chair other advisory committees.
I haven't, like lots of people have said, I haven't spoken with them yet, but I think Jody would be a very strong voice to have as a chair.
Are there any other nominations? Okay. I'll need a motion then to close the nominations. Okay, Bonnie, sorry. You're motioning to close them. Thank you. And Mike Sullivan. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to go through the list and see who will let their names stand. Okay, Emily Skelding. Will you allow your name to stand for chair?
Unfortunately, no,
Okay.
not for this 2020. Thank you though for the nomination, Jody.
Mike Sullivan, will you allow your name to stand?
No.
Okay. Mike Jorna, will you allow your name to stand for chair?
No, I don't.
No pressure. Jody, will you allow your name to stand?
Well, I guess I'm the last person standing, so sure, why not?
Okay, if we could call for a motion to elect Jody Burbach as chair. A mover and a seconder. Mike and Sammy. All in favor? Awesome. Thank you.
I'm getting feedback if everyone can just make sure their mics are off.
Yeah, thanks. I was just gonna say that.
Jeff, it's you.
Oh, yeah, my Zoom has been giving me problems all week. Let me, I'm trying to mute, but my mouse is giving me the pinwheel.
Jeff, I can do it on my end for you.
All right, I'll log.
I can do it on my end for you.
Okay, yes.
That's interesting. It won't let me mute you, Jeff.
I'll log in and I'll log out and come back. How about that? We'll see if that clears it up. Sorry, everybody.
Okay, so we will move ahead with nominations for vice chair. Are there any nominations for vice chair? Jody?
Thanks. Yeah, I'm going to return the favor and nominate Sammy as vice chair.
Any other nominations? Okay, not seeing any. Oh, Sammy, go ahead.
I'm not sure, Emily, if you have the time, or I'm not sure if you need less or more time, but I know with school, I'm not sure if I can take on that position. And I think, Emily, if you're not able to do chair, or vice chair, no pressure at all, but I would nominate Emily Skelding.
Okay, any other nominations? Okay, a motion to close nominations, a mover and a seconder. Mike and Jody. Okay, Sammy, will you allow your name to stand?
I just am not sure with school
Okay.
if I can take on the chair, but if Emily can't, I can allow my name to stand.
Okay. Emily, how about you? Will you allow your name to stand?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Perfect. All right, so I'll call a motion to elect Emily as the vice chair for 2022. Bonnie and Anita, all in favor? Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Okay, Jody, it's all you.
Okay, I should probably get the agenda up here. Usually I set it up on my other computer. Okay. Just give me a minute. Okay, sorry about that. We're on item 5, which is the adoption of the previous minutes. So those were circulated already by Casey. So does anybody have any corrections or additions to the minutes? Okay, I don't see any. So we just need a motion to accept the minutes as they are printed. Okay, Mike Sullivan and the seconder, Jeff. And all in favor. Okay, that's carried. I'm going to flip back here. Sorry, I'm just using one screen today, sadly. Item 6 is updates from working groups, and I'm not sure if we have any. So we've got 3 groups. We have ecological, carbon reduction, and ICI waste reduction. I definitely know that we have an ICI waste reduction updates. I'm not sure about ecological. Craig, anything to report? Oh, was that a no, or is that, I can't find my mute button.
There it goes. Sorry about that. Just a couple of little things. I think they're maybe just a heads up for maybe next time around. I've been working today on an initiative that's it's come and gone, but I think maybe we'll maybe deal with it next time around. But it's been a concern. It's been mentioned in our subgroup before about salt use in the city, road salt use, and I've set some wheels in motion to talk to. Actually, I've talked to the Downtown Business Association, Kim Griffith, about this, and she's quite keen to maybe help us out with some education and maybe do something about the amount of salt that gets put on the sidewalks downtown. I've contacted a person from an organization in Minnesota. They're very concerned about the amount of salt used in Minnesota because they're surrounded by lakes, which is their bread and butter as far as tourism. And I'm hoping that she's going to send us maybe some tools that maybe we can apply to Stratford, apply to the situation in Stratford. I don't know. But that's something that I'm working on anyway, and we'll see. And then I guess the other thing is still on the radar is the situation with the TJ Dolan and whether or not there should be any action or whatever with the multi-use trail situation there. But I think we'll maybe deal with that at a subcommittee level and bring back a bit more information or perhaps some direction to the committee next time around. So I guess that's a heads up to our subcommittee. Maybe we can deal with that within the next month and bring it up next time around. That's about it, really.
Okay, Mike Jorna, go ahead.
So happy, Craig, to hear you talk about the salt levels being used. I was just talking about that with somebody else recently. When I was chair of Public Works, we had the same concern, and council at that time made the decision that instead of using 100% salt, which was pretty much the standard in those days, they would go to a mixture of maybe 30 to 40% salt and the rest sand. Now that had the effect, of course, of needing a lot of machine sweeping in the spring, but ecologically, I think it was a whole lot better. Now, I don't get the sense that that particular management technique has remained in the city of Stratford. I looked and I didn't see any evidence of sand anywhere on the road. So I wonder if we could get a report from the folks at City Hall on what their approach to treating the roads during icy and snowy times is.
Right, thank you. That's probably something that you can look into, right, Craig? Like just following up with that. Did we had discussed a report? I'm trying to think back to last year at this time when it was top of mind. There was a report from Public Works. They were doing, I'm trying to think, an audit or something in the Public Works department. Do you remember that?
You're ringing bells, but I don't remember it. I've got a name to follow up with, though. Actually, Emily Chandler gave me a name today, and I am going to follow up with that person who works in the head of Public Works. You would know the name. I can't remember it, but I'll do some digging on this one. I'm kind of passionate about it, so I would like to see what we can do. I think I agree with Mike that I know when Lyndon Couch was here, he was making an effort to do some changes, and I'm not sure where all of that is at, but just walking the dog downtown on these sidewalks and seeing the amount of salt that gets put on the sidewalks, it's pretty shocking. So I just think there's maybe something that we could do. And if we can come up with some tools and not point fingers, but some constructive tools or direction for everyone, I think it would be a worthwhile initiative. I think salinity in our local waters is going to be an issue that is going to be up and coming. So I'll follow up with that, Jody.
Okay, thank you. You can also use the economic argument too, of course. It's going to save us money if we use less salt. Go ahead, Bonnie.
Okay, just a sec, gotta find it again. I just checked on the city website. It says they use a sodium chloride mix on the city streets for snow and ice. And sand and salt are also used to treat streets and sidewalks with a sand salt ratio adjusted depending on air and road temperatures. So we can get a report on that for sure.
Okay, Bonnie.
Do municipalities need a salt management plan? Is that provincial, under provincial direction?
That's what I'm
Or-
thinking was being developed last year when we it came through the ITS.
Yeah, that's
committee,
right.
that there was a salt management plan that was being updated, and that's
Okay.
what. Sorry, I just couldn't remember what the name of that was. But
Right.
there is an updated. There was winter road management plan
Yeah.
or something that I'm sure we'd be able to access if it was completed. Hopefully, Anita, did I see your hand?
Yeah, I just also wanted to point out that in the downtown core, all the merchants themselves are responsible for clearing the ice and snow in front of their own buildings. So they might be using pure rock salt or something in front, and some people might be throwing down a whole lot rather than, I know at the festival, we have to clear the block around the Avon and the studio theaters. So, but we use an ice melter, which has less of the sodium chloride in it. But again, it might be something that we could approach the merchants downtown with, or the business association, to suggest that they avoid, excessive use of just pure rock salt.
Right. Go ahead, Craig. Were you going to say something? Yeah.
There it goes. Yeah, again, I did talk to Kim Griffith about that, and she it recommended that exact thing. An interesting little sidebar is that what I've noticed downtown and what other people have commented on is that I guess the city is responsible for the corners, the street corners, and not the merchants. But if you look, you look at a city, one of those sidewalk salt spreaders, and they're sitting there waiting for the light to change. And meanwhile, the thing's dumping salt. They can't seem to turn them off. And mounds of salt at the corners. So, I mean, little things like that, I think would make a big difference. I don't know how you do it, whether it's a question of jumping off and pulling a lever or whether, I don't know, but I think there's some things that maybe we can either raise some awareness to or change. So, but yeah, Kim is quite keen to work with us. She was excited about the idea of working towards that with the merchants downtown. And perhaps there's ways, tools, physical tools that can be presented to them that can maybe make a change down there, and hopefully the cumulative impact of that might make a difference.
Great. Bonnie?
Well, it's under our bylaw section about how the merchants downtown have to do that. So I'm wondering if we should ask for a change to the bylaw so that it's very clear that they are to use whatever we decide, like a mixture of sand and salt, or what's the best to use. And then I'm guessing that will happen once we get this report and we're finalizing things. But I'm thinking it should probably be in the bylaw what they should use, because how are regular people supposed to know about that if they're not, thinking about the environment and stuff like that, unless somebody explains to them they need to use it? I might not even think of it.
Okay, Mike Jorna?
There are a number of options available for reducing the salinity of the river. One of those, for instance, would be to use potassium chloride rather than sodium chloride. Potassium chloride is not going to kill greens and plants and trees. So before we deal with it, or before we recommend any changes for the downtown or for a bylaw, we should probably get all our facts together and submit a well thought out, comprehensive idea for dealing with the salinity of the Avon River.
Right, good point. Okay, are there any other comments about ecological topics, Vanny?
I would just say what Mike said. Yeah, I think we need to have our research and know how much is going into the river down the catch basins, because that's where it gets in through there, right? Straight in there. So I think we need to do our work and find out how much is actually contributing to the river.
Right, sounds good. I just wanted to mention too that we do have these working groups, and so they're kind of like subgroups to this advisory group. And if any of you are interested in being a part of the working groups, you're more than welcome. So it's one additional meeting a month, but they're a lot less formal than this. And like Craig is in charge of the ecological one, so he'll just put together a meeting, and those who can come can come. And in the pre-COVID days, we used to go and have a coffee and spend a lot of time sort of chewing the fat a bit too. Maybe that'll happen again in the future. So we've got ecological, Craig's in charge. Now carbon reduction, we had somebody who's now not on the committee anymore was in charge of that, Anna. So I don't know if we have someone who wants to take on the carbon reduction working group as a coordinating person.
My hand is not volunteering for that. I would just say that our group was sending out some kind of emails today, so we're kind of still working.
Okay, and maybe Anna still wants to be involved at that level. Did I get that impression that she might still want to be helping with the working group? I don't know, maybe I'm wrong.
Not to my knowledge, but thanks for that. We'll definitely reach out to her and see if she's still interested in being involved. I mean, I have a couple little updates that we can give in absence of having a lead for the group.
Why don't you go ahead with that then?
Okay, perfect. And if anybody else wants to jump in, please fill in any gaps. So we did not meet in December. And like you had mentioned, we are looking for a new person to kind of chair, take lead of that group. We're also looking for new members. So Patricia and Felicity, not trying to put you on the spot, but one of you mentioned interest in like energy transition. This would be a really natural fit for that. So to kind of give you some background, in 2021, we focused mostly on doing a lot of community engagement and webinars. And we're hoping to have a meeting in January, and we'll kind of line up what our goals will be for the group in that meeting. But it was always kind of part of the intention too, that we would be supporting the City of Stratford's climate action plan as well as part of that group. And that is all I have for those updates. Unfortunately, we didn't meet in December, but I would also add that because we're in the winter time and with the new lockdown and restrictions, we will be discussing and looking at if we should do a winter webinar for community engagement too. So yeah, and then anybody else feel free to jump in from the group if there's any other updates you'd like to add.
Okay, thanks for that. So our third and newest group, the ICI Waste Reduction, I'm going to call on Sammy.
Yes, so the ICI, which stands for Industrial, Commercial, and Institutional Waste Reduction Committee, bit of a mouthful, so that's why it's shortened to ICI. We did meet yesterday, actually. It was kind of a regrouping meeting because our first big project was to address takeout waste from restaurants. So we reached out to Friendlier, which is a reusable container company, and kind of worked with them, connected them with restaurants. And now they're actually being used very successfully in our area. You can order, I think there's at least, 8 restaurants in town you can order from, and you can get their blue reusable container, which you then take back to one of their drop-off spots. And it's just a very circular way of thinking. And so that project doesn't really need too much of our support anymore. We kind of boosted it and got it started, but now it's doing great on its own. So yesterday we discussed and talked about what we want our next projects to be. And what we kind of decided on was our first big one was to go after large chain supermarkets. So we have a couple grocery stores that are really sustainable and local, like Gentle Rain and Green Grocer. But we have noticed that there's a huge amount of waste coming from big chain grocery stores. So we definitely want to focus on them. Our first project regarding grocery stores is to go after the produce bags. So when you put a banana in a plastic bag, doesn't make a ton of sense, but because they have the best covering that you can think of, they have nature's wrapped around skin right around them. But so we're going to go after those produce bags, try and encourage compostable or paper bags. We're going to do some research into ones to make sure that they're acceptable in our green bin program before promoting them. As well, we're looking into a green star or green kind of award ceremony / program to kind of acknowledge and commemorate all of the waste reduction and environmental initiatives that our local businesses are taking. As well, we're hoping to reach out to different groups that have their own awards ceremonies and ask them if they would be interested in adding an environmental section under those ceremonies, again, to encourage and incentivize businesses to take environmental action. So those are our 2 projects we kind of discussed yesterday. If you'd like to join, please feel free to. It's welcome and open to everybody, and it's a great group.
Okay, thank you, Sammy. Does anyone have any questions, comments? Oh, seeing none, we'll move on to the update from the Active Transportation Advisory Committee. Anna was our rep, so I'm also on the ATAC committee. So I can give you an update in that we didn't meet in December. So there really isn't an update. So that was quick. Business arising from previous minutes. That's item 8. First, we have the land acknowledgement update. And I think Casey sent around an email saying it hasn't happened yet. And actually, when I look at all of the business arising from previous minutes, with the exception of the very last one, E, I think nothing much has changed since December. In other words, there's no update on the climate action plan yet. We're still in budget deliberations. Truro Avenue, there's no update. And the request for council to adopt a tax deferral program, that will also kind of come along once we've done the budget discussions and we decide how the climate action plan is going to move forward and who's going to oversee it. Then we'll be able to approach that as part of the climate action plan. So does anybody have any questions about that? Sammy?
With budget decisions and climate action and the climate action plan, is there like a date when we know that budget decisions can be released, just so that we can kind of start the new year with as much action on the climate action plan as possible?
I'm trying to remember off the top of my head when our next budget meeting is. Bonnie, do you remember when the next discussion is?
I think it's the 17th.
17th, yeah. So it's in the next couple of weeks that we'll be going through. Yeah, and we'll be going through the budget sort of more line by line, project by project. So then by the next time we meet, we should have a lot more information. Mike Sullivan.
Does anyone have an update on whether or not the climate coordinator position is part of that budget?
I can say that the climate coordinator position that we share with Perth County and the other municipalities, that is slated to continue. The just Stratford position, I don't think in the budget as a separate line yet. So that will have to come when we have our budget discussion, how that's going to work. So the answer is yes and no.
So how will it be introduced to the budget? Is that between you and Bonnie and other councillors, or what is the process?
Yeah, when we come to the discussion of the climate coordinator that we're sharing with the other municipalities, that's the time when we can have a thorough discussion about what our role is within the other municipalities, and then also what are we going to do ourselves. So that's where that conversation is going to happen. Yeah, and it'll be up to Bonnie and I to make sure that, and there are other councillors who are very interested in making sure that we get that plan moving. Bonnie, did you want to say something?
Oh, I just want to say it's going to be a tough budget because we're still at what, around 8%, and we're going to have to do some cutting to get it down. Well, I think we want for sure to get it into 3% if we can, but I don't know how we can with asset management, because asset management, technically, if we were putting enough money away for it, it's like almost 2% or a little bit more than our budget, like just in our budget just by itself. And then you've got your wages, which is at least 1%. And then, like it makes it very hard to continue programs without cutting services. And plus, there's human rights issues and land acknowledgement, that there's other positions that the other departments want. It's going to be a very interesting budget. I'm not sure I don't know if we'll end up getting one this year or maybe part-time or something, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, it'll be a discussion about priorities, of course. Sammy?
Is there a way to kind of, I'm not sure if it's kind of up to just councillors or if there's anything that we can do to make sure that environment isn't cut, because I know every sector is saying, but our sector is the most important. We need this, like, this is so important. And I know it's going to sound like, oh yeah, we understand that you think yours is the most important. But I know that many municipalities are somehow finding a way to take environmental action and not cut it out of their budgets. So I'm not sure how they're doing it. But I don't think we can take another year saying environmental action just didn't make the cut. So I think it would be great if we could start passing motions in regard to the climate action plan by the February meeting, if you think that we can do that, just because it is 2022 and our goal is for 2030, which is in 8 years now. So I'm not sure if you think that we should wait till February for more information, or if there's anything we can do to make sure that environment isn't cut.
Okay, couple of comments on that, if you don't mind. I would say that the challenge is whenever you add something new, a new service or a new something into the budget, it's that much harder to convince people. So that's the kind of the challenge we're up against. However, there should be a survey that's put out by the city once the sort of all the budget, the preliminary budget that we've established, that we've already gone through, will be published on the website. And I don't think the survey is quite ready yet, but there will be a feedback survey that anybody who lives in Stratford can complete. And that would be really a great opportunity, really, because normally we don't have a lot of responses. I think last year we had more than usual. There was about 100 responses from 32,000 people. So if everyone in this group had a very strong response to that survey and was, I think it would have an impact on all of council to have read. There's a lot of feedback percentage wise about the environment. Mike Sullivan.
That leads to another question. How does one get a survey? I haven't received one. And my second question is, how does council square the fact that they have in fact endorsed the climate action plan, which included the request for a position, and then, so say one thing back last April or May or whenever it was, and then turn us down in February. I'm hoping that what Bonnie is talking about, there being, this, that, and the other thing, doesn't overwhelm the fact that we have 8 years, as Sammy said, to reduce our carbon by 30%. We're not going to do that without somebody actually at the helm.
Right. Bonnie, did you want to respond?
I just wanted to say that as far as I know, there's still, I can't remember if it was 2 or 3 from the county, whether they've even agreed to go ahead with this. But I mean, it might work out that if it's just say Stratford and St. Mary's and a couple of the counties that are sharing her, there might be enough time for her to do more for Stratford, and they may come up with doing a partial, but we don't know until we get into the budget discussion. But like you say, like, it's important because like we discussed, I think at one of the times about maybe Kate being able to take on more. But I mean, she's already taken on, as Mike Jordan knows, when he was a counselor, she's taken on a lot of new projects. And, she's got the green bin up and going now, but that's not even done because they still got to work on multi-residential and business. There's still a lot of work with that. So I think we have a good case. And as I mentioned, our next budget meeting is the 17th. Go on the city website. You can send councillors an email, explain your thoughts about how you feel about an environmental coordinator. That, it's important that we have one for the county, but it's important that we have one that's concentrating on Stratford. Because we have different needs and wants in the city, maybe than the county does in certain things. And, that's just my thoughts on it.
Okay, thank you. Sammy, did you have another comment?
I was just wondering, do you know when that survey will be posted?
I don't know exactly when, but as soon as it is, we can make sure we forward the link. So it'll be an online survey for everyone to fill out. And yeah, we can make sure that Casey will remind me, I hope, that we'll send it out to everybody as soon as it's available. But yeah, sending an email through to council as well. If you go to our website and you go onto the council calendar or on the council page at the very bottom, you can hit a button and it will email all of us at the same time. And that way you don't have to do 11 different individual emails. Okay, any other thoughts on that? Emily Skelding?
Yeah, when Bonnie had mentioned the green bin program, it made me think of Kate Simpson and how she's like an invited staff member to our E&E meetings. I know Amara, the climate change coordinator, is shared by Perth County, but is it possible, or is there an opportunity where we can make her a regular invitee to our meetings as well, so that she can be part of the discussion should she have the time every month?
I think that's a great idea. We can always ask. So maybe I'll do that, make a note. Or
Yeah, and I know that Kate's listed as staff resource in the terms of reference. So I don't know if we'd have to be as formal as that to update the terms of reference to include her as a staff resource, but we can always do that. But if you'd like to chat with her first and see if she's open to doing that, then we could always do that.
Okay, yeah, I'll find out a little bit more about it and see. Even an open invitation for her to come, just not as formal, but maybe to sit in on meetings and answer questions. That'd be great. Thank you. Okay, so we're on to item E, which is the update on the floodline map and information, and that's Craig and Mike. So whoever would like to take it away, go for it.
I'll speak first. I'm sure Craig has more to add. He and I got today a response from Chris at Upper Thames Conservation Authority, which I have forwarded to all of you, and which Casey, I believe, has forwarded to Patricia and Felicity, whose emails I did not have. And the response is quite thorough and quite detailed, and is a wonderful reminder of just how important conservation authorities are in terms of protecting us from disasters. I know that the provincial government has changed the rules out from under the conservation authorities. They can no longer stop development if the province wants to have it on floodplain and on protected wetlands, et cetera, but interestingly, when you go on the Upper Thames website and link to the map, it says right there they can still do it. So they haven't changed their mandate at least Upper Thames. It's very, very interesting to view the map that comes with the response. I'm going to ask that we not finalize this matter at this meeting, because you all only had it for an hour, and it might bring to mind some other questions you want to ask. I have asked in my response to Chris that the process of redoing the official plan, maybe should it be have a closer look at how the official plan affects or is affected by the flood maps, and whether or not, for example, we should be permitting paving over current non-paved surfaces as part of the official plan. And so I've asked some questions of Chris about that. He has offered to have a conversation with me about this. Essentially, the reason I put it on the agenda was after seeing what happened in BC, which he identifies in his letter as a 1 in 500 year storm, potentially. And we are currently protecting the city of Stratford to a level of 1 in 250 years storm, the most recent of which was in 1937. So I guess we can go on till 2127 and 2187, and that will be the next time we can expect a big flood in Stratford. Just kidding, but the suggestion I've asked him is whether or not we should be looking at the 1 in 250, 1 in 500 level, now that climate change is clearly, in my opinion, causing these deluge events much more frequently than they used to. A neighborhood in Toronto that was in my riding went through 1 in 100-year storms twice in 4 years. And you may remember the story of the 2 men who were trapped in an elevator that had flooded and were rescued because they were banging on the ceiling and somebody heard them. That was the same neighborhood that 4 years previously had been underwater, with basements flooded and houses flooded in the city of Toronto. And yet they had another storm just like it 4 years later. So these things are happening more frequently. They're more intense. They are more dangerous. And I think it behooves us to pay attention to that, particularly as the city is about to undergo a evaluation of the official plan. And the people who are going to speak to us about that are coming next month, I understand. So, Craig, you got stuff to add?
No, Mike, I think you summarized it really well. I think just so people know, Chris is actually was born and raised in Stratford, so he knows the city. He's a very thorough person, very thoughtful person, and as if you folks get a chance to read his response, I think you'll find it quite interesting. No, the bottom line for me is that, and I've worked there for just about 40 years, and you don't appreciate the power of water until you're out there, either in it or being impacted by it. And that event in Calgary, I think that Chris actually mentions in the letter is the one that drives it again home for me, is that if you allow building in a floodplain, it's a recipe for disaster. And Chris, of course, mentions this, and it's just so critical. In the States, they've gone a different route with this whole issue. They say, go ahead, build in the floodplain, but you have to insure it. So they've dumped it all onto the insurers. Up here, some people who are very farsighted said, no, we just won't let you build in the floodplain. And in the long run, that is the way to go. But anyway, I encourage you to read Chris's letter, and we can, again, like Mike said, we can maybe talk about it a bit more later on. But it's an important issue, and as climates change and this is coming down around our heads, I've got some other comments about that, but I would suck up the entire time here, so we can deal with some of that maybe later on. So I'll stop there.
Okay, thank you. Bonnie.
I just want to add, Mike, Chris just replied to your 1 in 500 question. So there's another email from him.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, so we'll all get a chance to read that thoroughly. I haven't actually read it yet. So to be able to talk about it next meeting would be an advantage, I think. So we'll keep it on the business arising from previous minutes. Emily?
Yeah, I actually did get a chance to read the email, and I just wanted to ask Craig if you could just pass on to Chris that it's like evident how much he really put a lot of time and effort and care into giving a thorough response. So we appreciate that.
Great. Yes, and thanks for following up on it. That's good. And it will fit in nicely with our discussion about the official plan as well. Sammy.
Yeah, I agree with Emily. I did read it and I found it really interesting and thorough. But official plan was brought up a couple times. And I know we were hoping to talk to somebody in the February meeting about that. I was just wondering, do we know when the plan is going to begin being reviewed by council?
Not quite sure what it is scheduled for this year because it's legislatively we have to do it. So we need to do that update. So from what I've heard, it's early in 2022. So should be sooner than later.
So should we, oh, sorry. I'm just thinking like, if we want to make sure that our recommendations make it in time for the review, there
will be a public input part of that as well. That's a part of the official plan review. Casey, did you have something to add?
Yes, so when I contacted them to have somebody to come, Alyssa Bridge is going to join us. She's the manager of planning. And she was also wondering, we did talk at our December meeting about E&E reviewing the plan and bringing forward some recommendations and ideas. She was just looking for a little direction, maybe prior to the meeting, if there's some questions she could answer. So if there's anything anyone would like to send me that I can pass on to her, that she can come with some answers. She was just looking to know what the discussion would be.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. So next meeting is going to be probably eventful and maybe a bit long, but that's a good thing. We're gonna have a lot to talk about. Is there any new business items that anyone wants to bring up? Okay, that's probably a good thing. The date of the next, oh wait, sorry, upcoming events. We have the Festival Hydro Tree Power
Sammy has
event.
her hand up.
Oh, sorry. Did I miss Sammy? Oh, sorry, Sammy.
It's not new business. I just had a question. We had brought up the idea of the electric vehicle incentive. I was just wondering where that is right now.
Anybody have an update on that? I'm trying to remember. Was that the one where that it was funded? Yeah, that Bonnie, do we have something in the budget about with electric vehicles? No, because I think that we discussed something in the summer about a program that was either federal, I think it was a federal program that we were trying to get funding for, and we're not quite sure where that landed. Do you remember that discussion? No?
Yes, but I don't know where it's at. Like, I think we're waiting for staff to get back to us.
Yeah, and we may, I think my understanding was that we did apply for some funding through that program, but maybe hadn't heard back yet about whether that was accepted or not, because again, there was an election sort of in the meantime. So I don't know, maybe Mike knows better how these things go with government. Like, I don't know.
The funding envelope is part of Environment and Climate Change Canada's overall money through the Ministry of Transportation. The funding was for electric vehicle charging stations that were to be purchased jointly with municipalities and with provinces where the municipalities aren't, and but on an application basis. And I don't know if all of that application stuff ends when there's an election, or whether, and it wouldn't hurt for somebody, whoever made the application here, to ask whoever they applied to where that funding is at. Because it was a fairly substantial chunk of change, and there are a very small number of charging stations in Stratford. The provincial government has handed the ones that were installed under the previous provincial government that have been abandoned. They've been handed over to a third party who is supposed to be resurrecting them. Those are the two in the Scotiabanks, one out on Lorne and one right downtown. Those are the only charging stations that are level 3 in Stratford. The rest are all level 2, so considerably slower. There are also level 3 charging stations sprinkled around Perth County, but they too have been neglected and no longer work. So I've been chasing after those people to try and figure out when we're getting our charging stations back without success. But in terms of, Sammy's question was about incentives, and I'm not sure that if we're talking about the same thing.
Right. Yeah, that we may not be, but maybe we should. I'm pretty sure it was Chris Bantock, our deputy clerk, that brought us the report on the EV charging stations that we had applied for, or that we were planning to apply for. So maybe we can follow up with Chris to see where that's at. As far as the incentive programs, anybody remember? Emily?
Well, I have something else, but my memory is jogged. I think we were talking about because all of the parking went like with QR code or like online, that maybe we could give a small like break for people who are driving electric cars and try to promote more electric vehicle tourism too. So for people who are coming here, you could save, you know, a bit on your parking if you had an electric vehicle. I believe that's maybe the discussion that we had around that too.
Yes,
and I
it
don't
was.
know where we ended that conversation. But.
Right. Yeah, no, that does jog my memory now too. Thank you. So again, that would be something probably to talk to Chris about, because seems to be the one dealing with most of the parking in the clerk's department. So maybe at some point we could invite him to a meeting and sort of we can have all the discussion about parking and how it relates to EVs and environment. I don't know, next meeting might be a little busy for that, but maybe for the March meeting, we could invite Chris along and we can have a discussion with him. Okay, great. Thanks, Casey. Emily?
Yes, sorry, if I may, to circle back on one of the big topics that we did have in 2021, which was kind of around energy and passive homes. We had talked about the Rotary Complex parking lot was going to be needing to get repaved and potential opportunities there to maybe look into some possible like pilot programs, or I don't know. I think it was like lining the heat into the actual Rotary Complex. I don't know where we stopped or left off on that discussion, or if that's something we would want to continue into 2022, given that it was such a large topic, the energy efficient homes and buildings in 2021.
Right, yes, it was a suggestion of geothermal under the parking lot. And I did take that to community services because they're in charge of the Rotary Complex and the parking lot, so on. So the idea has been passed along. And I'm not quite sure I need to look at the capital. We have a schedule for capital projects that are coming up. And I guess we'd have to take a look at that to see when that parking lot is scheduled to be done. I know that we did have a initial design plan already made. So whether that would, I don't know if that would affect it or not, but because if you're working underneath, and maybe it's a bit different. So I can ask again to follow up to see where that project is at and what the thoughts are on geothermal for that. Actually, we had a discussion about it when we invited the two people that were geothermal experts to our meeting. I think that's where it came up. Okay, any other thoughts? All right. So upcoming events is item 10. We have the Festival Hydro Tree Power event. And we did this last year. This is giving away, well, not giving away, but selling deeply discounted trees using the Upper Thames folks and ourselves, and Festival Hydro does the funding of it. So we did put the program together last year, and so it should run quite smoothly, hopefully this year. Last year we were in a major lockdown, so we had asked people in this committee to be volunteers on those days, and then none of us could go. So I did go to pick my tree up, and it was great. But hopefully this year we will be asking for volunteers, and it'll be a kind of a fun thing to do, I think, for people in this committee. But I mean, who knows what the situation will be. So we'll play that by ear, but that would happen sort of mid-April, I think, or early April. Okay, so the date of our next meeting is February the 3rd at 4. And just need a motion for adjournment at this point. Anybody want to make that motion? Mike Sullivan, and seconded by Bonnie. And all in favor? Okay, that's carried. Thanks very much, everyone, and we'll see you next month.
All right. Thanks, Jody.
Bye.
Bye.